Hey, welcome back to the podcast, the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. I am your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and it's Thursday. Yeah, I know, I'm supposed to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I've been so busy with work and stuff lately that I haven't had a chance to sit down and actually record the podcast. So this one's being recorded a little bit late on Wednesday night, so I wanted to make sure that you got a podcast for Tuesday. Sending it late Wednesday night didn't seem all that good because no one would notice the release. But anyway, hopefully you're doing well out there as we're Thursday moving into the weekend. And Ask the DM at theevildm.com is my email address, and evildm.com is my website. You can also go to, solo.to/theevildm and see all the links there for me as well. And you can click on the voicemail there, and you can leave me a voicemail if you have a question or anything. And it's like 30 seconds or so, so it's free. All you have to do is have a headset for your computer or your phone. You just talk into it. Anyway, today we're going to flip to the player's handbook and a spell because it reminded me of a funny story when I was talking to someone at work the other day. I was like, oh, I need to do a podcast on that. Stone the Flesh. It's a 6th level spell. Verbal semantic materials. It's 1 inch per level. Casting time is 6 segments. Let's see here. Duration is permanent. Saving throw is, special, obviously. Area effect 1 creature. So the stone to flesh turns any sort of stone into flesh. If the recipient stone was formerly living, it will restore its life and goods, although the survival of the creature is subject to the usual system shock survival dice roll. Any formerly living creature, regardless of size, can thus be returned to flesh. Ordinary stone can be likewise turned into flesh at a volume of 9 cubic feet per level of experience of the spellcaster. The reverse will turn flesh into any sort of stone, just as the stone to flesh spell functions. All possessions on the person of the creature likewise turn to stone. This reverse of the spell will require a saving throw to be allowed the intended victim. So if you're saving, okay, yeah, got it. The material components of this spell are a pinch of earth, a drop of blood, a lime, water, and earth are used for the reverse. Got it. So that's the spell in a nutshell. Interesting spell. It's a 6th level spell, so you're not going to get it for quite some time. But the story that reminded me of this spell was that we were playing a game a long time ago. I was probably in teens. So we're thinking high school at this time. I think it was probably high school. We were around that time, after school, whatever. We had an adventuring group. We were traveling, and I remember we were looking for we were looking for some magical staff in the forest. It was supposed to be some magical staff we were questing for some old guy. I don't remember the exact story, but we were walking through the forest and we stumbled upon a statue. Well, what we thought was a statue. It was like a warrior half-orc. We assume a warrior half-orc because the way he looked. Turned to stone in the middle of the forest, just standing there on the ground. So, that's unusual, right? You don't usually walk upon stone statues in the middle of the forest. So we came to the conclusion that he was probably turned to stone. We obviously, no one's going to drag this statue into the middle of nowhere, though we did look around a little bit to see if there were any signs of orcs or half-orc village or something. Half-orcs were not usually their own tribe, though they were outcast because of the way they were bred, but they were not threatening to anybody. So we checked around a little bit, and we did come to the conclusion that maybe there was a Medusa in the area or a basilisk, at least one of the two. We didn't see any caves or anything, so we assumed that there was no Medusa. They're not going to be roaming around freely. The magic user of the group, my buddy, his character, the DM gave him a intelligence check that he would maybe have researched the Medusa or come across it in one of the old books that he was reading over time, and that seemed fair enough. So the DM gave him an intelligence roll, and he got it. So he said, the Medusa usually live in a cave, and they don't generally come out unless they really need to. So that's the information we got. We looked around. Okay, is this area a basilisk type area? And the ranger, did his intelligence check to see if he would know anything about it. And based on what he knew of the area and everything, no, this really wouldn't be it. So we didn't know what was going on, but the magic user had a scroll that he had recently discovered, which was this spell that I just read, Stone to Flesh. And he's like, "Well, I could use this spell off the scroll," and should not have done that. I'm telling you right now, should not have done that. And I was just like, we don't even know this dude. Should we really do it? But we were good heroes. They're like, all right. I'm like, can you cast that spell? And he was just like, well, yeah, technically I can. It's off a scroll. And obviously I know as a player that you shouldn't be doing that, but my character doesn't know. My character leans into this magic user who supposedly is an expert at magic. So I played along with it, as a good character should. And I was just like, "You sure you want to do this?" And then the ranger guy was just like, "Whoa, is that wise? I've heard that magic can mess up off a scroll." And then the DM jumped in and said, "How would you know that?" And he's like, "You don't cast magic yet, so you don't know that." And he's like, "Oh, that's true." So then we're like, "Well, you're the expert. You do what's best. I mean, we helped this person out. That's great. We're doing a good job as heroes." And what we didn't notice was the DM leaning forward, kind of with a little bit of a grin. Yeah, Joe, Joe the DM, with a little bit of a grin. So the guy cast a spell, and Joe rolled the percentile for it. And what's the worst that can happen, right? Well, the worst did happen. So he did the requiredness. He did everything. He did it. It started to work. We saw the half orc, slowly phasing back into half orcness from stone. And then it started to hit the ground. The ground started to kind of turn to flesh too. So like the stone parts of the of the ground was fleshy pieces. So yeah. So we had this like meat swamp grass thing going because it was a stony area. And what was more disgusting about it was the smell. The fact that the flesh was also screaming, which I don't understand how that happened, but that's how it was described. And it got even worse than that because Joe, in his warpedness, decided that, well, while the warrior, the half orc fighter, was coming to it, and we were talking to him, trying to calm him down because he was pissed, but not at us. We found out he was pissed about some elves that cast a spell upon him and turned him into stone. He wanted revenge, and he thought it was us, but there was no elf in the party. So, but he was mad and angry. But what we didn't realize was, out of the forest came this meat golem creature that supposedly he created by casting this spell. I have no idea where he thought of this, but this giant thing with uh, pulsating raw flesh, multiple eyes, just came out of the woods, and the half orc warrior was just like, "I'm going to kill it." So we figured out he was probably a paladin the way he acted. We didn't get to know that much, but he was a paladin of some sorts, and he charged headfirst into this creature and started attacking it. We're like, So this half orc paladin warrior was jumps at it. He's got his giant sword and he's swinging at it. There's pieces of meat, flesh flying everywhere, and we're standing there going, what do we do? So we started helping him out, and just trying to destroy the creature. And we knew this was kind of a futile attempt, so we ran. We just went, nope, F this shit, we're out. And we ran. And the half orc was just like, "What are you doing? You cowards!" He just started screaming at us, and we ran. We hightailed it. The three of us just turned tail and ran and left this poor little half orc warrior to defeat this golem. Now, we don't know what actually happened to him because we just all ran off. But I just thought it was a hysterical story that Joe came up with a meat flesh golem monster that came after us because of a botched spell off a scroll. Did we ever see of him again? No. We did hear stories every once in a while as an off joke about a half-orc warrior looking for uh, a thief, a magic user, and a ranger who left him to die in the forest against a flesh golem. In different campaigns, we'd hear rumors of this half-orc running around looking for our three characters, even though it's a completely different game. It was one of those little spice things that Joe would add to the game to kind of make his world feel real and connected to everything else. Because when he did a world, uh, the world would be all connected, regardless of what characters we're playing, what level we were, where we were in the world. He kind of had everything connected, which was a great idea. And it's something that I've incorporated into a lot of my games. Like, I'll have reoccurring NPCs for various campaigns. There's a campaign that I started about 10 years ago, 2012, 2013. And David, who was playing in my group before he finally moved away, had played a character called Old Humie, but he was really a dwarf. But they called him Old Humie as a joke. And he went into this magic user shop that popped up suddenly, and he decided he was going to steal a potion when the guy turned his back. But little did he know the guy had some type of spell that he was able to see behind him, around him, kind of like security camera magic user spell. I made one up, and he caught him. And also, David rolled bad too, so he caught him. And then he's like, "I saw you steal." He's like, "I didn't steal anything," and he denied it. And he was just like, "All right." Ever since then, that NPC has been in my campaign after David's character. So, because David decided after talking to him that he was going to play legacy characters, so characters that were kind of related to the character. So when he played another game, he played like an Old Humie relative of that guy. And this NPC, Rupert, would be in the campaign, and they would kind of be like subtle, like, "Hey, I recognize you. Do I know you?" So it was kind of like one of those reoccurring NPCs that taunted the party, all because of David stealing a potion and his character, Old Humie, trying to get away with it. And it lasted for up until about a couple years ago when David finally left the group because he moved away. But it was one of my fun. It was the group loved have the interactions. No matter what setting we were in, I tried to incorporate a Rupert, and he tried to incorporate an Old Humie character. So it was just an interesting thing that you can do with an NPC and how you can make your worlds kind of connect and make one universe out of it. I don't know. That's enough story time for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show today. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless, and keep those AD&D fires lit.